U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has been rather confrontational and blunt in his Asian trip, both with the North Koreans and with the Chinese. I would say surprisingly so, probably, from most observers. And let's talk a bit about that with the retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, a senior fellow and military expert for DefensePriorities.org. Were you surprised at the types of statements that have come from Secretary Blinken?
I wasn't, because we really had some clue that this was coming before, when you had the United States impose 24 or sanctions on 24 leading Chinese figures over their actions regarding Hong Kong. So that happened right before this summit in Alaska. And so you knew that China was going to show up and they were going to be unhappy about it, and that certainly was the case, because they used some very undiplomatic language of their own. And Secretary Blinken didn't back down, and he gave it pretty strong back.
I have to wonder if anybody really ever thought that the Chinese were going to stand by their word that Hong Kong, once the British left, would be able to retain at least a semi-autonomous status. Does anybody believe that that was ever going to happen?
Well, I think the Chinese wanted people to believe it. But it was always hard to imagine how that was going to work, because if China genuinely allows them full autonomy and freedom, then obviously there's going to be other Chinese provinces that want the same thing too. And so it's not surprising that they're doing, but it's sure bad for the people of Hong Kong.
In terms of just where this leaves us, of course, the Chinese are going to continue to break every agreement they've ever signed. They're going to continue to export their unemployment, manipulate their currency, steal intellectual property from foreign countries, and the North Koreans are going to continue to build nuclear weapons. I would frankly applaud the tough talk, in that perhaps the Chinese and the North Koreans will believe that in fact we're serious, whether in fact we are, but I'm not sure that it's going to make a lot of difference.
Well, there's one thing that there's nobody on the planet that cannot think that we're willing to use any kind of force, whether it's diplomatic force, economic pressure with these sanctions, or military power, if we feel that we're threatened. So everybody's very clear on that, which is why I think that our deterrent will hold against North Korea, especially indefinitely. It will even hold against China, because though they definitely have some expanding capabilities, especially within the so-called first island chain in the area of their coastal waters, they know that they don't have anywhere near the total power and the ability to project power that we do long term. So I think that they'll also be deterred from doing anything provocative militarily. Now that's a whole different ballgame when you're talking about financially and some of these other issues that you just brought up on the financial side. But I think that security-wise, we're safe from any attack by China.
Well, they certainly haven't been deterred from building those islands in the South China Sea and claiming international waters as territorial waters. They've not been deterred from buzzing airplanes and coming perilously close to the ships of other countries. I hope that they are deterred. I just haven't seen what I would call a lot of cautious behavior from them lately.
Yeah, but let me tell you one thing about those islands that they've built. Those are nothing but a magnet for American bombs and missiles. We can take those things out in short order from very great distance, because it's, some people want to say, oh, it's a floating aircraft carrier. Yeah, except that it can't move, and so we can destroy it at will anytime we want to. And I think they know that. I think it's more for show than anything else, because if we actually did get into a fight, we would take those things out very rapidly.
In terms of North Korea, are you of the opinion that the North Koreans can be deterred from continuing to add to their nuclear arsenal? I mean, once we talked about a nuclear North Korea as being unacceptable. Now it's clearly very acceptable.
Well, it's not acceptable, but it's a reality, and we have to deal with the reality that we have. And so we have to make the best we can, and let's move in the direction of at least normalizing relations so that there's the less chance of war. And our military will deter North Korea indefinitely from taking any kind of offensive action against either South Korea, Japan, or the United States, because they know that it would literally be like committing suicide, because we would wipe them out within minutes, really, if that happened. And so they know that, so they won't do that. But they can make things very tough and difficult especially for South Korea. So if we work on keeping the deterrence, but on lowering the temperature and moving towards peace, which will benefit North Korea. So there's a possibility they could do it. But the great thing for the United States is that even if they don't do anything that makes sense, we'll stay safe indefinitely.
Well, I hope that we don't wind up bribing them to stay peaceful. Colonel Daniel Davis, again, from defensepriorities.org.